Salford City Radio, the sound of the city.
Paddy said Earlham, Eccles, Winton, Broughton, Odsall.
Earlham's of the Height.
Who the bloody hell said that?
This is Salford's brand new station, 94.4 Salford City Radio.
Bringing our community together.
So nerd.
It's 94.4 FM, it's Salford City Radio, Friday afternoon. How are you doing this afternoon? What are you planning for the weekend? I tell you what, I've been spending quite a bit of time on Facebook recently. I know a lot of people go on and on, don't they, about Facebook and stuff, but it's so much fun. And I've actually met somebody who's from Salford, who lives now in Brisbane, who's set up an absolutely fantastic Facebook, regarding Kersal Flats and the community that was there. Shall we say hello to Shane?
Hi, good afternoon.
Are you there? I can't believe we're speaking to you on the other side of the world this afternoon.
Yes, the miracles of modern technology.
You sound like you're in the other room. What time is it under there?
It's 9:30 p.m.
It's 9:30 p.m. Well, I'm speaking to Shane Sullivan, and you are... Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Shane?
Yeah, my name's Dr. Shane Sullivan. I work for the T.C. Burns School of Law at the University of Queensland. But as you can tell from my accent, I was originally born in Salford, and in particular Kersal. And I emigrated to Australia here about 18 months ago.
18 months ago?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was many years ago that you moved there.
No, about 18 months.
Right. Well, your accent is slightly catching up with the Australians creeping in there a little bit. So what's it like over there, under there, should I say? Is it how does it compare to life in Salford?
Well, it's much warmer, obviously, and the cost of living's much cheaper. Things like house prices are cheaper, and probably a sore point for you in the UK, but petrol prices here are about 62 pence a litre.
Really?
Yes.
So it's not been spiralling under there just recently?
No, that is high for Australia.
Is it?
Australians are moaning because it's reached 62 pence a litre.
62p a litre. We're paying almost double that, you know.
Yes.
£1.19 a litre it's crept up to.
Indeed.
At the moment. So you've been there 18 months. I didn't realise that, Shane. I'll just explain for the listeners' benefit. We met on Facebook, didn't we? And got into a conversation about a photograph that I'd posted on the Swinton Facebook group. And you made a comment about it, and you put some of your own pictures on there. A picture of Swinton, long before the Lancastrian Hall was built. There was a row of shops there, and got into a fascinating conversation. There was a church as well, up where Matalan is. There was a big church there with a graveyard, and I just thought this picture was absolutely fascinating. Got into a conversation with you, and then learned about the Kersal Flats website as well, which you've set up. That is absolutely brilliant. I mean, Kersal, I bet that I get the impression, I know towards the end, before it was demolished, it kind of lost its community feel. But I really get the impression from that website that there must have been a fantastic community on Kersal in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, essentially, for the younger listeners, anyone over the age of 30 will realise Kersal Flats were a series of 12 tower blocks, all located on Kersal Way. So essentially we had 12 tower blocks, each 10 stories high, and around about 750 flats in this one small area. And anyone who's familiar with Kersal will see that Kersal Way is quite small, and it had, at any time, around about 3,000 people living in the equivalent of one street. So we had this kind of high density of people in one small area.
Sure.
Certainly as someone who was born now in 1969, growing up in Kersal in the 70s, it was absolutely a wonderful place to grow up in.
I really get that impression from the website you've set up. I'm sure there'll be people listening now who are online. Just give us the web address before we continue.
It's www.kersalflats.co.uk. That's kersalflats.co.uk.
You've made that much easier, because when I looked at it, it was a slightly more complex address. When did you change it to that?
Oh, about 2 months ago, I purchased a dedicated web space, so I'm registered the domain name to make it easier for people to find.
So anybody who's from Kersal or around Salford who remembers Kersal Flats is a brilliant resource there. And I must say to you, Shane, it's absolutely fantastic. You've done a brilliant job of it. You've got TV footage from Granada reports on there from when Kersal Flats were flooded. You've got photographs and people's memories and stuff like that. I really believe that kind of community spirit that I think you're portraying brilliantly on your website, I think it's dead and buried. I'm 32, and my last big community memory of the community coming together, and you'll remember this yourself, was Princess Diana's wedding, 1982. Or was it 1981?
Yes, 81.
81. Now, I lived in a place called Gamesley then, which is over near Glossop, and the whole estate was out, and it was as if the whole estate was on one table. You know, every single table from every kitchen on the estate had come out and joined together, and there was the Union Jack hats and jellies, and we all had flags, and it was absolutely brilliant. And that was, what, 28 years ago?
Yeah, funnily enough, in one of the sections on the website, there's sections on local schools, and there are some celebrations from the 1981 wedding from the Lower Kersal Primary School. And one of the things that sticks out from my childhood in Kersal is the Silver Jubilee in 1977. Even if you're not a royalist, which I'm not, it was a wonderful community occasion. The entire community planned for months, clubbed together money, brought all the tables out, and we had a huge street party. The street was sealed off, and it was huge amounts of food and so on and so forth. It was a great street party. Try and compare that to 2002, the Golden Jubilee, where there was pretty much nothing.
That's right, absolutely.
And you can see the change just measuring those two things.
Why do you think that is? I mean, you're probably a good person to ask this because you're somebody who doesn't even live here anymore. You've moved completely to the other side of the world. How does it compare in Australia? Is that community spirit still there that we enjoyed in the 70s and early 80s?
Yes, that's one of the things which attracted me to come to Australia. Because of the climate, it's still an outdoor lifestyle. People spend a lot of time at the beach, or you can jump on a ferry and spend a lot of time on Pacific Islands, because I live in Brisbane in Queensland. And because of that, people still do interact. People still actually know the neighbours and pop in to see the neighbours. I noticed when I lived in the UK, that seemed to have broken down. Even though I used to live, before I moved to Australia, I lived in a small village. That kind of knowing your neighbours, taking responsibility for each other, interacting with each other, helping each other, simply doesn't happen anymore. And many of the reasons for that are purely economic. Now, most families have two people working, the mother and the father, which makes it much more difficult for people to find time for community.
Absolutely.
Whereas when I was growing up in the 70s, the odds were the father worked, but the mothers on the whole didn't. And it was actually those who tended to knit together communities.
And people have got so much more stuff to do now. Like, I started this conversation talking about Facebook, you know. The Facebook community, if you will, I've got in touch with people I've not seen since primary school. I was talking to a lad 2 nights ago who I've not seen since we're 10 years old, and catching up on his life and seeing how he's doing, and he's got children now and all the rest of it. Fascinating stuff. But I've not had a conversation with my next door neighbour for about a week. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's bizarre because I'm an academic working at a university. You see 18-year-olds who come to study their degrees, and they're children of this kind of instant communication age. So they communicate as much via their text messaging and Facebook as they would talking to their fellow students. Half their social life is now online.
And where will it lead to? That's the question. I tell you what, Shane, this is fascinating. Can you stay there? I'm going to play a little song by the Railway Children from Wigan. Don't know if you remember them. Mm-hmm. And I'll be straight back to you. Is that okay?
That's splendid, yes.
Good to speak to you, Shane. Thanks a lot.
Likewise.